So, where are we at in this Bricks and Minifigs story? Because a lot has happened over the last couple weeks. Last week, we had Coffeezilla dropping a huge hour-long video where he goes into the details and gets like information from all sides. It's kind of amazing how open everyone was with him, but there's still a lot of questions. So, after that video and everything that's happened, where are we at now? I have 5 questions, 5 lingering questions about the Bricks and Minifigs story that has kind of captured the internet and is the reason why you stopped by this video, which, hey, if you're new, maybe think about subscribing because I'm going to be covering stories like this, weird stories, internet stuff going on, and also leave me a comment what you think about all this and some of the questions that you might have down in the comments. Let's start off with what was the weirdest part about this Coffeezilla story, and that is the U-Haul. Because you had people from Bricks and Minifigs saying there wasn't a U-Haul on the night that this store was taken over by the company of Bricks and Minifigs, this local store there in Salem, getting taken over, the keys getting switched over. The owner said that, hey, there was a U-Haul. I thought it was a little weird that the new guy came in with a U-Haul, a pretty big one, by the way. And then Bricks and Minifigs was like, no, there wasn't a U-Haul. But then Coffeezilla found it in a picture.
Wait a minute. Zoom in on that photo. Bring up the brightness of this photo a little bit. And my gosh, there's a U-Haul in the parking lot right outside of the store the night of November 14th, 2024.
And as you probably remember from Cofeezilla's video, the reason why that's important is because there was another store in Eugene that said, hey, when we were there on that night, Brandon showed up with a U-Haul full of Legos, including a lot of Star Wars Lego, some rare Star Wars Lego, and said that the owner over in Salem had been stealing, so we're going to hold on to this. So that seems really suspicious. And now that the story has changed from, well, there was a U-Haul, but there couldn't be a time frame because Brandon, the guy, he dropped off the U-Haul at midnight, which all of a sudden isn't true, apparently, because some people have been sleuthing out there. Coffeezilla isn't the only one who can investigate, apparently, and they found, because there was in the picture that was in the Coffeezilla video, that there was some information there, so they actually went to U-Haul's website and found out, according to the website, this U-Haul wasn't dropped off at midnight like what was said in the video, but actually at around 6 in the morning. And because there wasn't a self-service fee, we can know that Brandon literally dropped it off at 6 a.m. and that he was present there. It wasn't someone else doing it for him. So now the story is wide open as far as what happened with that U-Haul, because we have a lot going on, right? We have the fact that Coffeezilla found out that there was a lot of Lego that was inside the store that the company said wasn't there. And while we can't know for certain, it looks really suspicious, right? Like this U-Haul basically showing up with a bunch of Lego, and there's missing Lego from that night in the store after Bricks and Minifigs had taken over. Like, it looks like maybe those Legos were actually in Eugene and not in Salem, not in a safe, and definitely not at the former owner's house, as has been alleged by the company. So my main question is, what's with the U-Haul now that we actually know that it was dropped off at 6 a.m., where they definitely could have driven it over to Eugene, dropped off all this Lego like the former employee was saying, and then get it back to the U-Haul location and drop it off in the morning? There's time now. So what happened with the U-Haul? Some people need to do some more investigating on that. Also, why keep suing the Mansell family? Because the Bricks and Minifigs CEO and CFO have gone out and they've been talking about, like, if there's missing Lego, we will definitely take care of the Mansell family. We just can't have this, dark cloud over our company. So that's why we're suing him. But now we know that there's missing Lego.
75169.
169 I'm not seeing, so there may be, okay. So there's one that is not on our list. Let's try this. 10240?
Okay, nope, not seeing that one either.
All right, that's kind of a problem because the Gormans had over 200 photos of this store.
If there's a calculable figure that we can look at and say, great, this is what was there, I promise you it's not $100,000 worth of Lego. And so where's the rest of it? You got me.
We know that Brian wasn't paid. According to Coffeezilla and everything that he found, yes, the original amount wasn't $200,000, but closer to around $107,000. But still, that means that Brian is out $50,000 to $80,000 from the company Bricks and Minifigs.
The remaining amount of Brian's collection that should have been in there is about $82,000.
So if they already said they want to make it right, why aren't they? Why are they suing the guy?
Regardless of what a franchisee does, the new one, the old one, the company behind it must stand behind their product, their service, and I can't imagine a better example of a company doing the opposite.
Third, why is it able to continue? Why is this lawsuit able to continue? Even if they wanted to keep it going, how is it possible that this lawsuit is still going on? Why hasn't it been settled? Because they've actually admitted to shorting the guy thousands of dollars. We saw it with the pictures when Coffeezilla is pointing out this Lego set. Do you have it in your system that's present there on the night of the switchover? And they're like, well, no, we don't have it. Doesn't that automatically mean that they took Lego from this guy? And even if they don't like Reckless Ben and everything that has happened, and maybe they just don't like Brian, the lawsuit holds no water, right? Because even with that, they don't have to be right about the certain amount of number. If he's had Legos stolen from him, as clearly shown in that video, that there were Legos that he was not paid for that they took, regardless of what happened to it later, it was in their possession on that night. That proves that Lego was stolen from him.
I must emphasize, estimated with bad records, that there's only about $10,000 to $20,000 in Lego that isn't explained by one of these sources. This isn't to say Brian's been fully compensated. Much of this Brian wasn't paid for that I know of. So I estimate he's still out about $50,000 to $83,000 for Lego he wasn't compensated for.
The lawsuit should be dropped, not just because of them being like, well, we want to make him whole, but also because it just doesn't hold any water, and any lawyers can look at that. And that's why all the legal stuff on YouTube has been flooded about this story, because everybody is like, this is so dumb. Why are they able to sue him? I think that is a question of how can they continue this lawsuit? Not should they, but how, if it's actually proven that they did steal some Lego. And that brings me back to the actual franchise owner, not Bricks and Minifigs, but Josh Johnson. We heard over and over again in those videos from Reckless Ben that he was saying that they had the stock, that they had it in the store, and that they would be willing to give it back to him. And there were promises that were made. Why did Josh lie about that? Was it just to buy time to figure out a story? Why would someone who claims to be a devout Mormon continue to lie, swear to God, to say that, oh, we're definitely going to give it back to you. All we need is this apology. All we need is this, this, and this. And then only to be like, actually, you stole the Lego. That to me is one of the biggest moral aspects in this story. Of course, the Lego's being stolen, but what is up with this guy saying that he has it, then saying that he doesn't have it, then accusing Ben of stealing it? That guy is just the worst, right? But why did he do that? If he never had the Lego, what was he trying to accomplish with that? I would like some investigation on that. And lastly, and probably the biggest thing of all, other than the U-Haul part of this story, is how was it that the police department there in Utah was able to take direction from the CEO? That's something no one has answered. I talked about it in my first video, and I'm talking about it now because it's just so strange for Josh to be sitting on his, patio, talking to the police officers, having the CEO on the phone, and then the CEO basically directing the police officers on what they need to do, that they have to arrest somebody. Something has to be done about it today. It was more than just like, hey, I think you guys should do this. It was go and do this. And you know that it's true because they actually went and did it. The fact that there was a SWAT style raid with a warrant about stolen Legos that they say, oh, someone heard, the owner of the Airbnb heard about this. I don't buy that. I don't buy that for a second, because you have the CEO directing them, and then next thing you know, they're having, guns pointed in their face. Ben is getting taken to jail. Everyone's under threat of being imprisoned, all because they drove by the house, because they called a couple times. I mean, these are things that like teenagers do, and people like me go like, get off my lawn, not I'm gonna call the cops and make it so that you get this SWAT team coming into your house and trying to take you out. Like that's just insane. And the fact that there was collaboration between Josh Johnson, the CEO of Bricks Minifigs, and the police department there, and that they actually followed through with what these guys wanted, that the police actually did it, is something that I think they're going to get sued the crap out of. You want to talk about $200,000. This story has now become so much more than $200,000, all because of that police department and what they were willing to do in order to appease these guys who, everyone is saying, well, because they were local. And while I don't buy into everything about the Mormon side of it, I do know for a fact that Mormons like to stick together and will probably give each other the benefit of the doubt a little bit more than maybe some other religious groups. I've seen it firsthand. I have a couple degrees in theology. I know very well what the Mormon church teaches and how they treat each other in comparison to how they treat people outside of their faith. So I think that there probably is something to that. I don't know about like big conspiracy. Everybody has, all the Mormon people on speed dial or anything. I'm not saying that. But the fact that the police department got a warrant about this when it was like such a small thing that could have easily been like, guys, you need to leave them alone. And instead, they're doing traffic stops. They're trying to find drugs in the car. And then they're like, you stole the Legos, which is something Josh actually said on the phone to Reckless Ben in like the most bizarre fashion for them then to visit his house and then come at him. Like there's way more going on with the police department and Bricks and Minifigs there. I'm not saying Bricks and Minifigs owns the police, but there's definitely some collaboration there, and I think that should be investigated. That's probably the biggest ethical question in all of this about the morality of that police department, the morality attached to that warrant and that investigation and breaking into the house and pointing guns in people's faces and hauling them off to jail. I hope that Reckless Ben gets compensated for all of that, because that is just insane. So this story keeps on going. Hopefully we'll have some more answers soon. There's more stuff that's going on. We just learned that the CEO and the CFO, the brothers there, that they actually removed their dad. Their dad founded the company. And then according to the dad on Facebook, they illegally removed him as the CEO and took over his company. So I don't think we're dealing with like the highest morality here. And I think it's about time that we stop, if anyone was, that we stop giving this family the benefit of the doubt and saying like, well, no one would lie about that. I don't know. If you're willing to kick your dad out of the company, there might be more going on. And I hope that people like Coffeezilla maybe do another video, or, other people step in. I hope that gag order on Reckless Ben gets removed, especially since they found out that there was Lego stolen. This lawsuit has to be dropped, or at least changed in some way to allow Reckless Ben to defend himself. And until then, you know, we'll keep following on the internet. We'll see what happens. And if you like this video, hit that like button. If you like me talking about this thing, maybe subscribe. I'll probably be doing more videos about this and other stories in the future. And I will see you in the next one.